What's up, weebs? Welcome back to Melina, the podcast where we take you down the yellow brick road of anime and have a look at everything it has to offer. On today's episode, it's time to kickstart our hearts in Chainsaw Man, directed by Ryu Nakayama, written by Hiroshi Seko, music by Kensuke Yoshio, animation production by MAPPA. It aired October 12th to December 28th, 2022 for 12 episodes. It's licensed for streaming in most regions by Crunchyroll, with all episodes streaming now. It's on home video in the UK via Crunchyroll, which is available to buy now, and Viz Media in the US, which is available for pre-order. It is also based on the manga by Tatsuki Fujimoto. As always, I'm your host, Notorious, and join me once again today is Shaun.
Today we ask the age-old question, what if man but chainsaw?
Yeah, so this show has some history where I've been pretty
Yeah, do you want to
vocal
go
in the
into your own
past.
little personal history on just your view of this in general?
Yeah, I've been pretty vocal about it, and there is like an old episode where I think I most certainly touched on it, at least in the thumbnail.
It's got to be like an early one as well.
It's early because it's 2022, so it's like
this
season
show
one.
was airing as we were making this show.
Yeah, it was season 1 of this show.
That's a lifetime ago.
It was, yeah, for sure. And I did not like this at all when it first aired. I watched it as it was airing, and that was my first exposure and experience to Chainsaw Man, which had been hyped to hell and back again by that point. And I spent 12 weeks just slowly growing to really loathe the whole thing.
Yeah, I remember at the time as well, because even I was aware of like the hype around it at the time, and I think like I don't know if like I asked you what your thoughts on it, and you were just like, I fucking despise it.
Yeah.
Like I just hate it, and I was like, okay, if we tend to have similar
Yeah.
tastes, so like I knew that like if you didn't like it, there was a strong chance I was not gonna like it. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna put that away for now.
I held on to that for almost 4 years, basically, too. And then the most recent movie, Resi Arc, came out, which came out last year, but I only watched it like a month or so ago, I guess.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked it. I just checked it out because I was like, well, you know, it's 90 minutes. It's not like I'm wasting my life if I don't like it.
Might as well see what all the talk is about.
Yeah, and you know, I actually surprisingly I did enjoy it, and at the time I was like, oh, you know, I guess that's something. At least there's one nugget in this pile of shit.
There's something good here.
Yeah. And at the time I watched it, I was like, yeah, I probably won't, you know, read the manga. I probably won't reevaluate season 1. I don't really want to give that much of my energy and time to it. But that little thing in the back of my brain started nibbling away of like, but you probably should at least try the manga.
You got like the taste of something good, and that activated a nugget in the back of your brain that's like, okay, what if we just try and see if like the manga's good? Maybe there's just something we misinterpreted the first time.
And I read the manga, and I think I read the whole of part 1 in like a couple of days. I really didn't
quick, yeah.
Yeah, I really didn't spend too long on it. Like I started reading volume 1, and I kind of thought, you know, some shonen stuff, it's they can get overly dialogue-y, and it can take a while to get through just one single volume, especially at the start of a series where it's like over-explaining stuff.
Exposition. This is how the world works. This is what you're getting into, basically. Yeah.
But Chainsaw Man kind of never really had that in the manga, and it doesn't really have it in the show. It just sort of just keeps throwing you into shit.
Yeah, you've got to pick up like stuff, and I will say, to get like my first comments on it, I did kind of like that at the start you don't really get an exposition dump on everything that's happening. You just sort of have to figure things out. That like, yeah, there are devils. Yeah, the Soviets are still around. Yeah, it's probably like the 90s
Yeah.
ish. You had to explain it was 1997 to me specifically, though.
Yeah, at the point that season 1 and part 1 as a whole takes place, it's 97. I think it where the manga is right now, whether it's the end or not, we aren't 100% sure yet. It's 1999, I think. So it's still not even breached the millennium.
Oh my god, Dracula's about to come back and the Belmonts are gonna have a final battle. Where's that game, Konami? Sorry, that's completely different to this.
Yes, it is. And yeah, I really actually enjoyed the manga. I think it's very kinetic, and it pulls you through, because Fujimoto has a really great sense of I always use the word cinematique, which is not a word, it has no fucking meaning, but it means something to me. I understand what I mean when I say that.
You have coined the term, but explain it to me, please.
Like someone's overriding sense of just understanding how to use everything at their disposal, all the tools and elements of a medium, it doesn't matter what medium it is, to create something defined that feels cinematic. But it's obviously cinematic refers to cinema and things being cinema. But cinematique is the use of everything that you have at your disposal within a certain medium to just create that really great piece of art, essentially.
Okay, yeah, I get you. Like, it's using, like, the medium that you've chosen to, like, its fullest extent. Like,
yeah, like Kojima.
In terms of, like, a creative... But yeah, Kojima was the first thing I thought of, like, the moment you said, and I was like, I'm not sure how much that's gonna pay off, but now that you brought up, okay, cool, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah, but, like, Kojima.
The second thing I also thought was, like, Silent Hill 2.
Yes.
Because that works so well as a video game.
100%.
And clearly does not work as a movie.
No.
Because they've tried that.
Silent Hill, period, doesn't work as a movie. Just stop trying, guys.
But yeah, so this specifically works as the manga as a manga, and maybe the anime as an anime?
Yeah, because the anime takes like a slightly different approach to things. Like it's a very one-to-one, and obviously like it doesn't really change the story or anything, but it expands on stuff like Himino taking Denji home and stuff, and not necessarily in the sense of like expanding it for her to be more creepy than she is, but the sort of pacing of the scene, that sort of slow kind of, it makes that feel realistic in the sort of slow burn, tense, teasing way that it's meant to come across. Whereas doing that in a manga, you can only do so much with pages and panels before you're kind of dragging an idea like that out and just sort of filling pages with panels of not really much actually going on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I gotta get these amount of panels in this week, otherwise I'm not gonna get paid or whatever.
Yeah, or it's more so like you kind of have to do a scene like Himino and Denji kind of quickly in a comic book format, because you otherwise just waste pages on not really much actually happening, and only so much can be done with conveying still images, whereas everything's moving in the anime, so different camera angles, the way characters move and interact with each other. I like the way that they've expanded that to show Himeno's drunken nature, should very much specify.
Yeah, because that scene is very creepy, but she's also completely out of it.
Yeah. So just stuff like that where people exist in the world gets sort of expanded in ways that allows character animation and movement and definition to be more present than you can sort of do in a manga. There's only so much you can do with character movement before you're just drawing a storyboard, essentially.
Yeah. Or you end up just drawing like different variations of the same thing over and over again. It's like, that's not interesting to read.
Exactly, yeah. So it means that the manga feels very, very brisk to read. And then you've got action scenes where Fujimoto has just an intense style. It's very I don't know the word to describe it. It's not clean. Like it doesn't.
Visceral?
Hmm?
Visceral?
Yeah, visceral. That's it. Like it's messy without being like unintelligible. You know, it's
Yeah. And you
again.
kind of get that a little bit in the anime. I'm not sure. You said not maybe quite as well to me, like not long
No,
before we recorded.
they certainly lose a lot because they, from a production standpoint, I totally get it, but like rendering Denji's Chainsaw Man form in 3D CG, it kind of limits how much you can really do. It
Yeah, artistically, I imagine.
yeah, it sort of sanitizes, I think, the viscerality that Fujimoto can convey with stuff like that. But also then you're losing, just the way he'll structure a page around how Denji's attacking, or the way Denji's framed in the middle, but other things are happening maybe around it in different panels. It's one of those things that's, you're gonna lose something in the art of adaptation. Yeah. So
and I will say, as someone who's not read the manga obviously and has only watched the show, you do get a little bit of that visceralness in the scenes themselves. I think the music especially really helped get that across for me, because I fucking love the battle theme. And I know it's one of the EDs in one of the episodes, and which I don't know which one I'm forgetting. Because there's like each episode has a different ED.
I think it's episode 2 or 3 is Maximum the Hormone, which is the song that gets used in episode 8 or 9 when Denji fights Katana Man.
Yeah. Great name, by the way. They're not katanas, though.
No, they're not.
They're more like just big machetes to me.
Yeah, they're very much, you would expect Danny Trejo to be swinging them around.
Yeah. If he was in this, 10 out of 10 immediately. No joke. But I just called him Blade Man for a while.
That makes more sense to me.
And then I just called him Baraka from Mortal Kombat with like a blade for a head as well. We're lucky I didn't say Deadpool from Origins Wolverine.
No.
Can I just say, character designs are kind of fun in this.
Yeah.
I really like most of the character designs. They're very dynamic and very, unique.
Yeah, there's no two characters who look the same in this one, except...
Which is a problem that has come up in some of these shows that we've covered before.
Other than, like, the intentional... Maybe they're twins, maybe they're just brother-sister, those two, like, public safety agents that escort Aki at one point, and also meet up with Makima in Kyoto.
I genuinely think they just sort of look similar, but I'm not sure they're, like, related.
Yeah, it's just even the way that, like, they have the same kind of scar just going the other way on each face.
I figured that was just from a battle they were both in.
Yeah.
Because, people die a lot in this universe.
Yeah,
bad things happen a lot.
They don't hold back on killing off people.
Yeah, which, isn't bad.
No.
I'm cool with shows that do that. The weakness for me is that sometimes it means if you want to convey that, you're going to have to just have some of your characters inevitably die. And sometimes it means that happens so fast, I feel like I've not really connected with them enough to feel super bad about it.
Yeah, because you only really get, like, 3-ish episodes with Himeno before she's very unceremoniously just...
Yeah, and, like, I liked her character, but I didn't have enough time with her to feel, like, enough of a connection, whereas, like, she was dying, and I was just like, oh, I guess she's just gone now.
Yeah.
That sucks.
I think that's something that maybe irked me a little bit more on the first go round too, is it's like, okay, I don't know who I meant to be, like,
rooting for
here, because everyone kind of sucks, and then anyone who's kind of redeemably present dies immediately,
Yeah. Or gets taken out, or like a terrible thing happens to them, and it's like, well, shit, now they're just out of that episode for a bit. What the fuck am I gonna do with these numbskulls? The only exception I had, and you know this very well now, is Power. I don't know why. She's just really fun to me, and I was just like, okay, she's my favorite. Just within the first episode, she popped up.
It took me so long to come around on Power. So long.
That is so funny because the fact that I loved her immediately must have been so wild to you.
It was, because I'm like, damn, it took me until getting to the end of part 1 of the manga to even slightly warm to her, and then watching season 1 again was the first time I was like, oh, okay, I think she's fun, I do like her, whereas before it was like, I'm tolerating you at best.
Just shut the fuck up, just shut the fuck up, just shut the fuck up. I don't know why. Sometimes I just like an anime character that's like arrogant, but not in a mean sense, just in the sense that they're so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
That like they've got no idea the actual danger of the world they're in. And I know that she's like a fiend, she's relatively powerful, but like she's also like dense as hell.
Oh yeah, 100%. There is not a brain between those ears.
No, and she's running for Prime Minister. I'd vote for her.
Could she do that, like, legally?
Who cares? In this universe, who gives a fuck? Sometimes a girl just needs wanton destruction and blood, and, I get that. That's real.
Yeah. And then there's Aki, who fleshes out the main trio of characters, who's the straight man to Denji and Power's ridiculousness.
He is the closest to like what you'd think would be the protagonist in this, and he's not.
Yeah. Yeah, he is the only one kind of taking anything seriously at any given time and actually thinking, hey, maybe we should do these things to not die and to make sure everyone survives. And then there's Denji, who's just like, I don't really give a shit about any of this.
No, and like he's the only one with like a motivation that's actually nice.
Yeah.
Like a decent motivation. Like his family died and he's just trying to get revenge. It's a very low bar, but in this universe, that's the best motivation anyone has.
Yeah, like you kind of get the idea that a lot of people in public safety are just sort of, it pays the bills, because at this point, I guess, in this world, it's such like a normal thing that devils exist and that they need to be dealt with, that being a public safety officer's not really like, it's risky and it's dangerous, as we find out. A lot of new recruits die like immediately, as we see. But it kind of seems like a, if you want stability and good pay, go for it type thing.
Yeah, sure, it's the closest you're gonna get.
Yeah.
The alternative is just trying to live a normal life and just maybe, I don't know, maybe die one day. Just world's fucked. I kind of likened the sort of standard motivation to something like Devil May Cry, where it's just, devil hunters for hire.
Yeah, I get that.
I haven't played much of Devil May Cry, so I'm not sure how much that actually impacts the games, but...
Yeah, I mean, Dante is like the son of Sparta and all that, so...
Yeah, but like apart from that.
Yeah. I need to play Devil May Cry.
Whereas like, yeah, but like my point is that like Aki's got like an actual genuine nice motivation to it all. Whereas Denji, our actual protagonist, is just there to have a somewhat normal life and to get a kiss every once in a while. Yeah, I wish he'd stop talking about that. I'm not against him being like, a bit like that, because he is also a dumbass, and I don't think he's like super egregious about it. But at the same time, dude, stop.
It's like every except Kobeni, Kobeni. I have no idea if that's how you say her name. Every woman he lays eyes on, he's just immediately like...
He is a shonen character.
Yeah, he immediately wants to get in their pants or woo them in some way. So that's
16 years old.
Yeah, you can tell. He's lived a very sheltered life too.
Yeah. I do like the whole Yakuza thing that you think is going to be a long part of like this first season is done with in the first episode.
Yeah, and then it sort of comes back at the end, but not like...
Yeah, but like he's not a part of it is what I meant.
Oh, yeah, like he's not indebted to them this whole time. No. It's very... I'm glad they square that away at the end of the first episode. I'm glad that's not the actual, like, main thing of the show, you know?
Honestly, same, because I find like the actual like public safety stuff a lot more interesting as a hook
Yeah.
instead of just, not to say generic plot line of being indebted to the mob, but I do like that. Like, you think that's gonna be like a long recurring thing, and then by the end of the episode, it's like, oh no, we just became zombies because we're fucking idiots who made a deal with the zombie devil. He's just around, by the way.
He's just around, yeah, just hiding in a warehouse, kinda.
Yeah, as you do.
As you do. What? How do you not ask what the... No, ugh. Yeah.
They're not the brightest people, which is weird,
No.
because they make you think that at least the granddad has a brain.
Yeah, but, money, I guess.
Power.
Power. Yeah.
I think I'm sort of dancing around like my main thoughts on the show itself is that I think it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It is very competently made.
Yeah.
I do enjoy the characters to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
I do not understand why it's rated as highly as it is, though.
I will say that I think I find it odd, the approach that they've taken. Because when season 1 aired, I believe part 1 was done. So, and what I mean by part 1 is in the manga, it reached a certain point, and then Fujimoto announced at the end of a chapter that the series was going on hiatus for a year or so, and that the part of the story that had been taking place was done. It was part 1, it was over, and it ends at like a certain point and has like a conclusion, obviously.
Yeah. The way you said that was like, is it not a good conclusion?
No. I like where part 1 ends. I think that's I like that as a conclusion of what's happened so far, and the turns it takes. I'm less convinced of how you continue it. But yeah, the 11th volume, which contained the final chapters of part 1, came out in Japan in 2021. So it was a year before the show even aired, which means the final chapter of part 1 had probably come out like a few months prior to that, at least, considering or like 3 or 4 months, I think, prior, if I remember my Japanese publication standards correctly. So I don't understand why the 12 episodes in 2022, then nothing for 3 years for Resi arc to come out in 2025, and then announce like months after that for the next arc, which we don't know which form it's going to take. It's just happening with an unspecified release date. I don't get, when the story that you're trying to tell currently is done, and right now it looks like maybe part 2 or the whole series is going to be done next week as of we are recording this, like 7 days from now. The final chapter might come out, or it might just be the end of part 2. No one's really certain. Why didn't they adapt more at the time? Why didn't they sort of aim to do the whole of part 1 in like a couple of seasons or something, like, as much as I'd like,
especially how much hype that grew around like the first season, because like I said, I was aware that this was coming out, and even back then I was not into like the anime sphere at all, really.
Like I like Resi arc. I like that they changed directors, which I kind of feel bad, because Ryu Nakamura didn't exactly do a bad job. I'm not saying he did a bad one, but the director of Resi arc, whose name is escaping me, Tatsuki something, just elevated everything. It's more competently directed. It has a clearer directorial vision. As much as I like that, I honestly would have just preferred them doing like a more timely approach to it, if only because I think part 1 is something that's better experienced as a whole than in segmented bursts like we're currently getting, because there's a lot that happens in part 1 that's only gonna make everything else make sense in retrospect.
Okay, that feels honestly about right from what that's season 1 sort of left off on, because like, again, I want to state, I like what I saw so far, but it does feel very much like you gotta come back for more because we're very much not done here, and like the only thing left for me to watch at this point is a movie.
Yeah, and I will
that
say
also isn't the end.
The end of season 1 with the whole door thing where Pochita tells Denji not to open the door isn't even a thing in the next movie. That's not what the next movie's about. This doesn't come back until near the end of part 1, like the final or second to last story arc of part 1. So I get setting it up and laying the groundwork, because the manga does do that too, but at the same time, if you're dragging stuff out across so many years at this point, I mean, it's been 4 years since season 1. That's kind of crazy, especially because we now don't have a window for when the next part's coming out. There were 3 years and all we got was a movie. Now we don't know how long we're going to get before the next thing, and we don't even know what the next thing is. So to try and set up all this like payoff stuff, I don't know if it works, you know, like,
especially for again, someone who's not read the manga or anything, I wouldn't be sure if we weren't like specifically covering it for the show, if I would be like wanting to come back for this even after enjoying my time with the first season, because like it's not really fully hooked to me yet. The characters are here are like interesting to me. I've not fully warmed to them, but I do find all of them interesting.
Yeah.
This is also very focused on specifically Makima. Makima, yeah. She fascinates me. I do not know if I like her though.
I will refrain from saying anything too much. But it's one of those things where I said this after finishing season 1 again last night, where I think some things work better being able to read them in quick succession. The pacing or the structure or the way the storytelling works is that being able to just observe that entire thing within a very short amount of time is more conducive to that story than, say, watching it week to week or waiting multiple years for the next entry. And I think that's what Chainsaw Man really succeeds at, because watching season 1 over 12 weeks did not work for me. Clearly, I really did not like it. But watching it all, I really could have just sat and watched all of season 1 in one go. Like I would have totally have done that if I didn't start it kind of later on at night and need to go to bed. You know, like I could have just watched the entirety of season 1 in one sitting, and I would have really enjoyed it.
I mean, for me, like the thing I usually do is I usually watch, if we're watching a show, like in small bursts of like maybe 4 or like 6 episodes a pop.
Yeah.
6 of them like pushing it, but I don't know what it was specifically about Chainsaw Man, but I could just sort of feel that like I could probably marathon this.
Yeah.
Like a good chunk of it. So I ended up watching like 8 episodes back to back to back on like my last session, and like it flowed really well.
Yeah.
You can feel the sort of like snappiness and the way everything just sort of connects. It sort of reminded me of, weird comparison, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, and just how easy it was to go from like an episode to an episode and not feel like tired. And that's like really commendable.
Yeah.
I think that's really impressive when a show can do that. But it also means I'm kind of sad it just sort of stopped.
Yeah, that is the other thing, is it's like, yeah, there's defined arcs to Chainsaw Man, but everything flows so well within
Hmm.
that story that it's hard to then go, oh well, I finished that arc, I guess I'll just take a break. You
Stop.
you kind of just want to keep plowing through because there's more happening, or there's more to be seen, or something. It's that sort of thing where it's like the anime is very forcefully sort of going, okay, and we're done, and the next movie happens, and we're done again. But it's not really how it feels when you read the manga. You just kind of keep going. Things don't feel like they stop in the same way. It's like you don't hear Pochita going, "Don't open that door, Denji," and then you go, "Okay, I'm done." It's more like, no, let's keep going.
Yeah. What the fuck does this mean? Come back here. What? What does this mean? There were definitely like highlights of the story though that I did really like. I really liked the I hate to call it this, the backrooms arc.
Oh yeah,
when they're
yeah.
in the hotel.
The I almost called it the Endless Eight. That's Haruhi Suzumiya. That's a completely different thing altogether. They get stuck on the 8th floor, and that just sort of reminded me of Haruhi.
Yeah, the Eternity Devil.
The Eternity Devil.
One.
Yeah, where we meet Kobeni, that guy who
we
gets
meet the
domed.
rest of the squad, really.
Yeah. Except one of them gets domed like the episode after this.
Yeah, but it is cool seeing just like the different kinds of people that can end up in this sort of profession, because you got such a wide spectrum from Aki, who does not give a fuck about anything but is still trying his best to, you know, be competent. And then you've got Kobeni, who I can't fault her for this, because I too would be a fucking coward in this situation, but god damn, she is so incompetent until she is not incompetent. But that's later on.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I'm like, the more I think about it, the more that whole part kind of, to me, I have questions. Because there's the whole thing of like Squad 4, Aki's squad is like a special squad. It's not got a normal structure.
Special Division 4.
Yeah, they're putting in all the kooky people. And then there's Kobeni and the other guy. And I'm like, why are they here? Because out of everyone, they're just normal people comparatively.
Yeah, like, Kobeni has the special power of anxiety. But, you know, God bless her for that.
So does the other guy. Real. He just has a mental breakdown and lies in bed for most of that story arc.
Yeah, but I don't care about him. Who cares about... I don't even remember his name, I'm gonna be honest.
Neither do I. I mean, he gets domed like 2 episodes after this, so who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly. Who cares? He's just there to be a worse Kobeni. Like, he's not as interesting. But like that was the whole thing, just sort of seeing how everyone bounces off. You see how much Genji just really doesn't give a shit about anyone else but himself.
Yeah.
But also kinda. It's weird because he's likable, but he's also such a dick.
Yeah, I think like part 1, or like at least this early part, kind of feels like Denji having to shake off being such an isolated kid.
Yeah.
And sort of...
I did get that.
Yeah.
He's very much learning how to have emotions.
Yeah, like that is very much it. It's like he's very stunted in a way where he's just sort of... He's having to experience things he's literally never experienced before. And some of that is just people. And like people in a way where they don't like see him as worthless or as like a
as
dog.
Like something to get money from.
Yeah, they see him as like,
you know, is endearing.
Yeah, it just makes him kind of insufferable at times. That's all.
Yeah, but then again, I remember he's a 16-year-old, and that's how 16-year-olds are sometimes. I was 16 once. I get it. The fact that he just falls asleep at some point, it's like, okay, you guys figure it out and just wake me up when we're done.
I mean, real.
Yeah. The thing is, they don't figure out what really to do anyway. Like they're still on the plan of, you know, maybe we should just kill you.
Yeah.
That really does seem like the most logical plan. But then Aki's like, we're not doing that because we're not arseholes.
And I find it hilarious that Aki's like, well, we're not doing that. There's no other way out. There's nothing else we can do. But I'm not doing it. Even though Denji could just have, from the get-go, chainsawed up and went for it.
That's probably my biggest problem with, like, in terms of plot in this whole thing. There are so many times where it feels like whatever they're facing could just be solved if he just chainsawed the fuck up.
Yeah, 100%.
Why does, like, I appreciate having that 2 episodes to really get the characters that are here and stuff and have this sort of, you know, almost slice of life-esque sort of breathing room. But at the same time, Denji, you have a win button. Please press the win button.
You literally have a cord that you can pull to win. To just...
Yeah, you have the I become the Doomslayer string. You can just do that.
Yeah,
it does become really funny when he just has that, like, light bulb moment of, oh yeah, I could just do that. And that's how it ends.
I honestly kind of wish they had at least given it some kind of, like, oh, they don't want him using those abilities too often because he can kind of get out of control. It causes too much destruction. Like, if, you know, they're part of public safety, and 3 giant chainsaws that he can swing around and doesn't really get to control the fight.
That's not OSHA compliant.
No, like, that's not really public safety so much as public endangerment. So, like, I'd understand at least if they put emphasis on maybe don't do it unless, like, it's an absolute last resort to do it, but they kind of never give that. So it sort of
or
just
at least give it, like, the caveat of, like, it doing more of, like, a mental, like, fucky thing to him than it actually does. That, like, make it almost like a, for a comparison, like a video game Berserk button.
Yeah.
Where, like, he just goes completely apeshit, and he's maybe afterwards he has to, like, sleep for a little while to like actually get back to normal.
But there's, other than the blood loss, which because he's part of Devil means that he can just drink more blood and he's fine.
Yeah, just get a top up and you're good.
There's no actual downsides to him chainsawing up at all.
Yeah.
He has no negative impact. He has no negative reactions. There are no
He can't die.
He can't die. There's no cost to him doing it. So it does sort of feel like sometimes just Fujimoto forgot that he could do that.
Or he's just like, okay, I can't do it yet, but at some point I'm gonna hit the break glass to chainsaw button.
Because it also
can't do it yet.
Because, like, he also doesn't immediately, like, he has to knock him out during the Katana Man section initially, just so he doesn't immediately chainsaw up and, you know, win.
Buzz buzz.
Buzz buzz.
Buzz buzz to freedom, yeah. It does come off a bit like, you know, the author couldn't really think of ways to, like, stop the I win button from just destroying everything.
Yeah.
So the characters just have to be sort of artificially dumb more than their natural dumbness to, like, not think, oh yeah, I can just do that.
Because there's also so many situations where, like, power needs to be removed entirely for them to make sense, or she could just...
That's at least believable because she is dumb enough to just not do any of that.
Yeah.
Or
like,
passive enough to just be like, why should I care?
Yeah, because, like,
fun. I want to just see this happen.
She runs away during the Katana Man section and just leaves them there.
Yeah.
And it's like,
or she just sort of stands staring like, huh?
Yeah. There's too many powerful characters to the point that they need to write them out at every given turn.
Yeah. The best, like, way that they can sort of, like, try and justify it is during, like, the assassination part where, like, all of them just get caught off guard.
Yeah.
And a good chunk of them just straight up die.
But a lot of the people who actually die are just people we don't really know. Because, like, we don't know that guy's name, but he sacrificed himself for Kobeni.
Which is cool, but, like, I didn't really care about him. I'm gonna be completely honest, I didn't know it was the same guy until we started talking about him.
I'm pretty sure it's the same guy. I think, anyway. They look similar.
Yeah. He wasn't important enough to be drawn that differently.
Yeah.
Unlike a short hair woman who I wanted to learn more about because she seems sort of connected to Kobeni in
Short
like
hair.
the short hair and in the drinking scene.
Oh, like the other squad leader, I think.
Yeah, I think
Uh
she seemed.
I think she might come up
She's like the only
again.
one that was nice to Kobeni, like in that scene that I realized. I was like, okay, maybe there's something there, and then she just dies in the next episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't even get a name.
Why name them if you're just gonna kill them, you know?
Yeah, but you give them like the small little nuggets of personality and like an interesting character design. I want to know more about them at the very least. I'm annoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those things where because of this approach, you kind of don't really see the direct effect of that whole assassination thing
No.
really at all where we currently are. And again, Resi doesn't really get the time to show it either for reasons that you'll see when we watch the movie.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where it's like, again, that sort of, I don't get the approach they've taken because I feel like they've left too many things, because just the way the story's structured, they've left too many things in the air where it's like, okay, you're making us wait again 3 years for the movie, and now again we don't know how long we need to wait for the next thing, which could be a show, it could be a movie, which again, movie, I get we're not necessarily the direct target audience, but movies always kind of irk me a little bit because then there's the time lag. Shows, we get day and date with Japan in English on some streaming service, wherever it goes. In the case of in the case of Chainsaw Man, it's Crunchyroll. Other shows, it might be Netflix, it might be High Dive, it might be wherever.
Yeah.
But movies, you then need to wait for them to go, okay, we're gonna put it in theaters in your region, and are you gonna get
weeks or like months it takes to like get all that prepared and stuff, and it's like, why?
And then you gotta go, then you've got the contention in the UK of, well, how many places is it going to be shown? How often is it going to be shown? For how many days? Because...
Is it going to do that Lupin thing that's been happening recently where they're only in for 1 day?
And then they're not even in, like, many places. They're just in, like, Glasgow. Or in the case of a film that Anime Limited are releasing soon, The Last Blossom, I think the closest is Dundee. It's not in Glasgow, it's not in Edinburgh, it's in fucking Dundee.
Fucking yeah, and because we are cursed with being Scottish.
Yes.
we are as in terms of like the UK as a whole, we usually only get like one place that has it. Like just in Scotland as a whole. And both of us are more like centered around Edinburgh. I live in Edinburgh, you go to Edinburgh like usually.
Yeah, for movies anyway.
Yeah, and like call me undedicated. I don't want to go all the way to Glasgow or Dundee just to see like one movie.
Yeah, I mean, Crunchyroll is a bit different because they're bringing sort of things that are more widespread appeal. It does mean that you're getting more locations and more showings. I mean, I saw Demon Slayer in Edinburgh, and that was showing kind of frequently, and I'm sure the next Chainsaw Man thing will show more frequently. I know Resi Arc had a pretty decent run and decent availability.
Yeah.
But equally, there's Scarlet, the new Mamoru hosted movie, which Sony had so much confidence in, and then they didn't. It was originally meant to come out in, I think, December, and it didn't. It just disappeared. They didn't make any mention of it. It came out, at the end of February in the US, and then it came out a couple of days ago, I think, here in the UK, and it's being shown very, very limited, and it's now just on VOD in America.
Wow.
You can just buy it on digital services in America now. So yeah, they've clearly
and over here you can probably just find it.
You'll probably be able to find it, yes. So, you know, if the confidence just suddenly disappears, you know, then you're waiting longer, or maybe you don't get it at all until it comes to streaming, which is going to have its own set of red tape because, well, Japan with theatrical, it's like you can wait up to a year for it to leave, not necessarily theaters, just to come to some other way of watching it. You know, it might just get like a 3-month stint in Japanese theaters, but then it'll take another year, or 9 months, I should say, sorry, to then hit home video or something, or streaming, or whatever. And again, you know, then you get the added time delay of an English release.
Getting it outside of Japan.
Yeah, so it's one of those frustrating things about, you know, I don't necessarily dislike the approach, you know, pacing wise. I think the rest of the arcs do fit better in movies because, like, season 1, there's a bunch of smaller little things that build up, and then it's like the longest arc is sort of just the last one, which is maybe 3 or 4 episodes at most. So it's I get it, but it's kind of frustrating because they had the opportunity to do more at the time, and I don't get why they didn't take that, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. It just feels like there was a bunch of untapped potential that they just didn't really go for.
Yeah, especially because, like, you know, like we say, it was hyped to hell and back again. This was one of the biggest releases.
Shut the fuck up about this show for a while.
Yeah, like, this is one of the biggest releases of that year. So, like, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I get, like I said this last night, where I think once we've covered Resi arc, there is a high potential of us just covering the manga, since things are such a sort of nebulous state of when and where and what.
Because I definitely get the feeling that, like, if I want to continue reading this, which I do kind of, because I'm invested enough in the characters and the story now to just want to see where it's going, like, I'm probably going to have to read the manga, like, inevitably, because the alternative would be waiting, and by then I can't say I wouldn't fall off.
Yeah.
And, like, stop caring, because, again, I like the show. I like what I've seen so far, but I'm not that engrossed enough to be, like, fully on board or like fully ride or die for it at this point.
I also think
it goes into my feelings of why, well, I'm not really understanding why it's rated so highly, but maybe it's just because it's not clicking for me.
Yeah.
In that way.
I think one sort of, like, thing is, it's also popularity comes and goes kind of quickly, and I think dragging something out over what is now 4 years minimum next time,
with very little to show.
Yeah, with very little show, and the minimum next thing we're gonna get is next year potentially, and I'm just like, I'm guessing completely. You're talking minimum 2032 or 33 before part 1 is done, and by that point part 1 had been finished in the manga for almost a decade. Potentially the whole fucking thing will have been done for a few years at that point. And when something's not current anymore, all you're gonna see is declining return on the project. And I hate to turn it into that sort of commodification of art, but
yeah, absolutely,
when you are making something for people to watch, you have to make it at a time when people are going to be there to watch it.
You gotta strike when the iron's hot.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Unfortunately, if you have to think of it in, like, a business sense or, like, a content sense, you have to, like, be ready on that. And it feels like we're starting to head into that conversation we've had before, where, like, you know, productions just, it feels like everywhere just taking so long, and that's just, like, the nature of, like, TV and movies at this point, is that everything's taking, like, so much longer. And, like, and not to, like, rush anything or, like, put any, like, extra, like, added pressure onto, like, the people actually producing it. You definitely don't need the extra pressure. Like, the way the industry is, but, like, at the same time, it's like, you wait too long, people just stop caring after a while. And like the biggest comparison I can think of is, sorry, I hate to bring this up because I'd say this show is definitely better than the show I'm about to talk about overall. House of the Dragon. I'm talking as someone who really liked season one when it came out. Around the same year as when Chainsaw Man, like the anime adaptation came out. That was a really good first season. But then by the time the second season came out, it had been like long enough where I was like, okay, hold on. I'm not entirely sure I'm gripping with this. And then that season was fine. Sort of fine overall. But then it's gone on hiatus that another Game of Thrones show has since come out that I'm now invested in, and it's season 3 of House of the Dragon is coming out, and it's hard for me to be fully excited to the same level that I was when I was watching season 1, because it's like it's been so long, and it's hard for me to keep that energy going for this long, especially when I've got other things that I could be putting that energy towards.
I
has taken up that energy.
I feel the same thing with like the One Piece live action show. Like season 2 just came out, but season 1 came out in 2022 or 2023. Like
around about.
Again, like I remember talking about it early on in this podcast as well.
That got a sort of an episode to itself.
Yeah, like I remember talking about enjoying season 1 and you know how it fares as an adaptation and stuff, and like, but now because of that sort of suffered from the writer strikes, but then they took so long to actually make the second season, I now kind of don't care. And it's also at the point where like I see clips from the show and I'm just kind of starting to sour on it, and I don't think it's anything from the idea of like them doing this or making it anymore. It's simply because it's like, you took so fucking long. I'm actually annoyed, and the results that we got don't kind of match up to the time you took to make it, if that makes sense.
Why wait that long for something that's not really gonna feel worth it for like the time that they've been given? Because like another thing that I've got that I'm thinking of right now is Last of Us, like season 2. And that was overall, I'd still overall say that was a good season of television. It's just that like that felt like it took a while after the first season. That was like what, 2 years? Yeah,
I think that was because season
1 was 2023.
Yeah, and then season 2 was last year. So it was like 2 years in between them.
And that season only covered half of the second game.
Yeah, because we're currently waiting for season 3.
Which they hadn't even written by the time season 2 had finished or
like
airing.
And yeah.
And it's like, but like you wait that long for something and you're just like, well, now you gotta wait again.
Yeah.
And when it feels like what you've just watched hasn't really gotten to like the full crunch of the stuff you're getting to. That's like my point. I'm really trying to get across.
Yeah.
The thing you're waiting for doesn't feel like it's really giving you what you're expecting, or like the amount of content that you were promised that would make the waiting worth it.
Yeah. It's sort of the thing where like the anime industry at the moment is very focused on chasing trends, whether it makes sense or not. Like, you know, I'm saying a couple of years ago, it's like almost a decade ago now, My Hero Academia comes out and does a 13 episode first season, and then like a year later does a 25 episode second season, and it creates the idea of doing a long running shonen thing in a seasonal format. And then in 2020 or 2019 or whatever, we get Demon Slayer, and it's taking that same approach, but then it does a movie because the next arc isn't super long, so they decide, oh, let's do a movie, and then somehow that becomes the new norm where everyone suddenly starts doing movies to tell the parts of their story, which means that we're also then getting longer lead times in between. And for Demon Slayer, that kind of works. Demon Slayer is still a pretty huge property, and you know, it's aired a couple of seasons in between, so like it doesn't feel as bad. But Chainsaw Man's not got that grounding to really,
No.
you know, and plus Demon Slayer benefited from the fact that the movie came out and then lockdown happened, so a lot of stuff was more forgiven about wait times. And then the second season, I guess technically, because the movie isn't really a season, comes out in like 2022, and then you get a season in like 2023 or 4, and then you get one in like 2020. So I think it was like 2022, 2023, 2024, and then there was the movie last year. So there was a decent time frame
rollout
to stuff happening. Whereas like Chainsaw Man's just not had that. It had 3 years in between the first season and that movie, so there's barely that sort of like gripping point. But there's also like, I think people looked at Attack on Titan and were like, oh yeah, people will just fucking wait for anything and they won't care if we drag it out, because now you got like the last season of or the last movies of Demon Slayer are splitting the last story arc up into like 3 movies or something like that, which is very much the Attack on Titan final season for real this time approach. Part 2, final chapters or whatever. And it's like, yeah, no, that doesn't work for everyone. It doesn't work for every series. It's not always conducive to the storytelling that you're trying to do. So yeah, like Demon Slayer, it pulls it off because like the spectacle's there whenever it does actually appear and manifest into the cinema, because UFO table, I don't know, really high
Apologies
production.
for terrible pronunciations throughout this episode, by the way.
Really high production values. They do it on TV too, but they get to go the extra mile whenever they do movies. Whereas, you know, it's not always going to be worth it for the next thing that comes out for the series or the franchise or whatever. It's why, you know, Breaking Bad was massive. It aired for 6 concurrent years or whatever and had a grip on everyone.
Yeah,
but now,
same thing with like Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
like that was like a good almost like a good chunk of a decade's worth of just continually yearly stuff. And when the show got bad was when they started putting big gaps between the seasons.
Yeah. And now it's like, in the streaming era, if they had done Breaking Bad, you would have had that first season. In fact, no, I can point directly to the fucking exact example. Pluribus, the new Vince Gilligan show, 9-episode first season or something, and it's getting more. It ends on a cliffhanger. I didn't watch the last 2 episodes because I just stopped fucking caring. It ends, you know, it doesn't end the story. It's gonna have more, and they don't know when they're gonna do the next season. So it's like, you can create TV. You can't create compelling and gripping TV or entertainment if you're taking too long.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine if Empire Strikes Back had taken any longer to make after Star Wars.
Instead of like 3 years, it was like 5 years to like maybe even a decade.
Yeah, exactly.
Star Wars would not be remembered as like as much of a saga of movies as it is now. And like, yeah, even any big breaks happened between trilogies.
Yes.
But like the stories that they were telling within those trilogies, they happened like fast enough that like they kept their grip on people for a while. And there was also supplemental shit like throughout there, whether it be comic books or like especially in the prequel era, there were a fuck ton of video games and like comic books and not TV shows at that point, but like still like Star Wars found a way to keep its like grip on people through like content down the content tube. I hate saying it like that, but that is basically what happened. And they did it well enough.
Yeah, and not to give the sequels any kind of praise, but they did at least do a year on, year off, so it didn't take too long for us to reach the conclusion of that shit show. But then,
like if Rise of Skywalker took all of lockdown to get what we still got in the end, I would have been so much more enraged than I already am at that movie. And
like you also had stuff like Rogue One in between, and Solo, a Star Wars story. You know, like
I will defend that movie to my death. Though.
I like it. I get this maybe not up to the same par
Yeah,
as...
it's a fun heist
Yeah.
movie with a young Han Solo. That's all I expected, and that's what I'm happy with.
Yeah. So there's like, you know, it was like 5 years consistent Star Wars stuff leading up to lockdown, essentially.
Leading up to Mandalorian, which was like
Yeah.
actually universally acclaimed,
Mm-hmm.
and then, well,
yeah, it's just one of those things where the approach to entertainment has sort of taken such a weird turn where it doesn't feel like it's there to entertain so much as it is there to make a splash online.
Yeah,
you know, if that makes
prop up a shareholder's like wallet for that year.
Yeah, like Pluribus feels more now like a marketing gimmick for Apple TV than a good show. It's not bad. It is not. And it's not incompetently made at all. It has that same like stunning approach that Breaking Bad had, but Breaking Bad was so impressive because it was on fucking network television and it was shot really well. It looked great, which is the same for stuff like The Sopranos, which it was HBO, but still it was more of a consistent thing than some of the other HBO shows. That's what made TV like that so impressive. And we've discussed it before, but they're trying to make every TV show that thing.
Like that.
And
not every TV show needs to be like that.
No.
Sometimes you just need a Friends.
Sometimes you just need a 22 episode season that comes out every fucking year. And whether there's bad episodes in there, you don't care because there's 22 of them. Who gives a shit if one of them's bad?
Sometimes you just need a Doctor Who, which doesn't need to be the most groundbreaking thing all the time. It can be if like they really want to go that for like a season finale thing, but what made that first Russell T Davies era so good is that it was just a fun show week to week. That was just in its own universe that was fun. It didn't need to be like this grand scale epic thing. The only time it ever got close to that was like an anniversary special.
Yeah.
But then, like, you've got the current Russell T era where now it's just looking for content and clickable moments. And, well, I don't even dislike the series, like, individually. It's just, it's not the sauce.
Yeah.
It's not the sauce. And it should be the sauce.
It's also the same thing.
Not that kind of sauce. Not that super grandiose sauce. It's its own kind of sauce.
Yeah. It's that same thing that happened when, like, Chibnall took over, where it kind of became this big cinematic thing, and it's like, no, Doctor Who was never that.
Yeah,
it was never.
It's about being the funny little sci-fi show.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you need a supernatural. You know, like it's
sometimes it is just that good being its own thing.
Yeah. And, you know, when you're adapting a thing, I understand that there's limited amount of content, and you don't necessarily want to go down the routes of, like, you know, One Piece or Dragon Ball, which are the sort of, you know, go-to examples of, like, dragging stuff out for the sake of either avoiding telling more of the story or
Goku's 10 episode, like, charge up.
Yeah, or One Piece dragging, you know, pages of a chapter out across a 23-minute episode thing where, like, Zoro takes 30 episodes to run up a guy's arm or something like that. You know, I
can't even tell that's an exaggeration.
That's legitimately something that happens in the Dressrosa arc.
Well, fuck you.
So yeah, like, not everything is going to be like that. Not everything can be like that. You know, people still watch One Piece even though they complain about the pacing. People still watch Dragon Ball even though they all complain about the pacing. A show that is done and has been done for decades.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's more conducive ways for the type of storytelling that Chainsaw Man's going for.
And it doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah. And, like, I don't think that I like season 1. I don't think it's necessarily the best showcase of what Chainsaw Man is or can be. And I think that's it's what makes it so weird that they just done the 12 episodes. Like, you had all the material that you could have done 24. And then
Yeah, like if this was
that's
24 episodes, I feel like I could end up in a situation where I would see why it's getting like 8 out of 10s or like 10 out of
yeah.
10s on like Letterboxd or whatever.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where I don't quite necessarily get the approach they're currently taking. As again, I say that as someone who really likes Resi Arc, and I think it's a really great directorial feat from the director.
And I'm looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, I look forward to watching it again too. It's just, I like the show and I like the series now. I think the anime adaptation is just very frustrating in its own way, though, for this sort of approach that it's taking. And we've spent far longer talking about this than I expected we would.
I want to really apologize that we've done that thing again, where instead of talking about the show itself, we've talked about like the production stuff around it and just the state of TV, anime, and all that sort of shit around it. I feel like we've been sometimes we suck at actually discussing the show itself.
The thing is, though, Chainsaw Man Season 1, not much actually happens.
Yeah, like, we can talk easily about the things that actually happened that stuck out in my mind, like, Power ate a bear. That's something that stuck in my mind. And, like, what else can I say? It happens for, like, 20 seconds, but, like, it's cool. It made me like her character more. She just ate a bear.
Makima
That's awesome.
Smushes some guys.
Okay, no, legit. That was such a cool scene. That whole like setup where like she's got everyone blindfolded, including the public safety agents, and they're like, we don't have the that's classified information. We don't have the clearance to like see it or know it or whatever. And she just like does this really cool like blood magic sort of thing, whatever it is.
She shumps them.
It was amazing. Might be one of my favorite scenes in the whole show, actually, now that I'm really thinking about it. Again, I don't know if I like her as like a person or like a character, but everything about her fascinates me because she's very clearly not human, but no one seems to really bring up the fact that she's very clearly not human.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Look at her eyes. Empty eyes.
Yeah, because I mean, it's
I'm interested in seeing where she goes.
Denji gets turned into the Chainsaw Devil, or the Chainsaw Man. He gets roped into public safety. He fights a bat. Then Power's around. They get assassinated. Makima does that. They fight Blade Man, get trained, fight Blade Man again, and win.
Himeno dies.
And
their ghost fucks off onto the other girl's side for a bit until Aki is like, "Don't do that."
Yeah,
and it doesn't. It's like, forgive me if I'm wrong, but like, does he just beat the ghost like devil by just being like, "Oh yeah, I'm not supposed to be afraid. I'll just turn that off."
I guess.
Like, am I misinterpreting that?
No, I don't get that scene either, to be honest. It's just
okay, cool.
He just does that.
It's cool. It was a cool moment, but I don't think I fully understood what was happening.
Yeah. But
did the ghost want him to kill her? Because the ghost gives him the cigarette.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't feel like we understand enough about curses or whatever to...
Curses, ghosts, devils.
Contracts. Yeah. Vibes.
I like Future Guy.
Future Guy is fun.
The future does rule.
But yeah, that's what I mean, though, is it's like the actual plot's kind of thin at this point. It's very much all establishing everyone and the sort of stakes and situations and stuff. So like, there's the whole thing about like gun chunks that just never comes up again.
Yeah, like, that's clearly stuff that's going to be built upon later, but we don't have that later part, which goes into our whole discussion.
Yep.
So, like, oof.
Yeah.
We don't even know what the gun devil looks like yet.
No. That's a way off, actually. They really don't show that for a long time.
I really hope it's just, like, a giant, like, M1911 with arms and legs. Like, the most cartoonishly looking thing ever, and it's just supposed to be very intimidating. That's my belief until I see it.
One thing that I maybe I'm misremembering something that happens later in the manga, but I'm pretty sure like the whole thing where they explain like the gun devil touching ground on Japan and causing all this destruction and stuff, I remember that being slightly better executed in the manga, because I remember they just put up the death total, and like every panel that shows the destruction also just has a list of names of all the people, and I'm like, that's cool, that's so awesome.
Yeah, that is amazing. I'm surprised the anime didn't think to capitalize on that and have that like be the way they do it there, because that especially in an anime, that feels like that would be very hard hitting instead of just, you know, big whole 1.2 million dead.
Yeah, they very quickly pass over it, and you only just sort of see like Aki having things go fly by him.
He waves to his like his brother or whatever, and then the house gets Wizard of Oz to death.
But yeah, that's one of those things where like sometimes it has really clear there's sometimes where it has really clear ideas of like, oh, let's expand this or let's adapt this in a certain way, and then there's stuff like that where it's like you kind of took all the teeth out of that one particular moment, you know, like it sort of gives it a very weighted feel when you see it in the manga, and you see like all these lists of names as you're going through different panels and like pages. I think it takes place over maybe 3 or 4 pages where you see all this destruction and just lists of names, and like you're not reading them all, but you're going, oh my god, there's more, there's so many more,
so many names. And like in a manga specifically, because even if it's just like 3 or 4 pages, and because you're reading a manga, that's a lot.
Yeah, you're like, there's only 20 pages to a chapter. That's like a quarter of that chapter right there, just on that one moment. So yeah. I look forward to us watching the movie and potentially, you know, covering the manga at some point in the future. But I think we talked about it last night, where I think rather than going headlong into the manga after that, we'd probably do the Eva manga just to kind of wrap up.
That is the one I do want to. If we're doing a manga at some point, that's the one I want to get to first, because of course I do. It's Eva. It's my favorite thing.
We gotta wrap up that little loose end that's hanging there. Melina has absolutely no interest in it. She told us that up front. She just does not give a shit about reading it.
We appreciate that.
Yeah,
but,
that's fair.
It means we're sadly just gonna have to cut her out of that part.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oops.
You're listening to this and you change your mind. There's still time.
So yeah, we've talked for over an hour at this point about Chainsaw Man. So it's fun. It's kind of, I just think it's slightly overhyped, I think, is my closing thought, you know.
Same. Like I'm invested in these characters enough. I'm invested in this world enough to like keep going and like see what's going on, but like it's not my favorite thing ever. Like I'd rated it like a 7 out of 10 on Letterboxd, and I feel like even then I was sort of like, do I want to put it that high, or do I want to maybe bump it to like a 6? Which I know feels bad, but like it really did feel like I wasn't sure if it was worth even like a 7 to me. The only thing that bumped up to a 7 was Power, because I like her. I like the little dance she does in the opening and everything.
Yeah, for me it's like I sort of I compared it in my Letterboxd review with I compared the manga and stuff and the approach to the work of Shuzo Oshimi, and like the difference is with Shuzo Oshimi, I'm gonna be there for any of their other works at this point, because I've read pretty much most of the ones that are worth reading, and I really liked them. That's a weird thing to say about an Oshimi manga if you've ever read one. They're all a bit strange and a bit odd.
Okay.
And they all have intent in making you feel a certain way and a certain experience, and whether they're good or whether that's good or not, you don't know until you've read it.
It depends on what you're feeling that day.
Yeah. But I read, one Oshimi manga, and I at the time, I wasn't super, like, enamored with it. But that approach to storytelling, that approach to, again, the cinematique of the manga, made me want to read more of Oshimi's work. And I did. I read all of it. Fujimoto, on the other hand, I don't feel compelled to read his other work. I like Goodbye Eri. That's an incredible one-shot that I've wanted to read for this podcast since I read it back when it came out in 2022. I think it was during our first season or something. But I don't feel that, you know, I don't feel like I need to go read his other work, if that makes sense, you know? And I think that's my sort of overriding kind of feeling, is it's like, yeah, I like it and I'll spend the time with it, but I then don't feel the compulsion to go seek more. You know?
Yeah, like, I feel that, like, if we weren't covering Resi Arc for the podcast, like, next time or, like, sometime soon after this, like, I wouldn't jump at the chance to watch the movie. I maybe would, just out of, like, curiosity's sake, but I don't feel any need to go see it in the same way where, like, I finished watching Eva, like, for the first time, and I was like, I gotta watch End of Evangelion, and at some point I gotta watch the rebuilds, and at some point I will have to read the manga. It's an inevitability. Or even, like, just Gundam now, and that's partially in the idea because a bunch of people I follow now are just won't shut up about it.
Sharp posting will continue until morale improves.
I don't understand what everyone's obsession is with that blonde space bastard. I don't get it. You gifted me, like, a whole 2 Blu-rays worth of, like, an origin story for him, and I still haven't watched it yet, but I know I have to. And, like, but even then, like, even just watching, like, just the movie trilogy version of the original series, it's like, I'd be interested, and I know I do want to watch stuff like Zaya at some point.
Yeah.
In, like, a way that I don't think Chainsaw Man really would have got.
Yeah.
But, you know, but, like, still, chill good. I do recommend it if you're interested. A solid 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it an 8. But again, I think I'm taking into account everything that kind of makes sense in retrospect too, from my experience with the manga and stuff like that. So that definitely improved the show for me this time around, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, this episode's sort of, you may have noticed this month that whatever we say at the end of some episodes doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That's because the Gunbuster Alice in Borderland episode that came out 2 weeks ago, when this comes out, was meant to come out when this episode is now coming out.
Yeah.
But the episode that was meant to come out when the Gunbuster and Alice in Borderland episode came out, it was unsalvageable. It was broken.
Our
file haunted.
Recording software we used, Adobe fucking sucks. Let's just say that. Adobe fucking sucks. I hate it. We're now recording with Audacity.
Yes.
Because fuck Adobe.
Yeah.
Because it killed it was a really good episode.
It was. It was such a good episode.
If you've looked at my letterbox, you probably know the 2 things we saw in it.
Yeah.
And, like, you'll know that, like, it was stuff we really wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so those will be reserved for future discussions at some point. I think we're just sort of settled into the idea that when Melina comes back, we'll probably just cover them at some point then, rather than force ourselves to re-experience that so soon. Originally we recorded like a thing to just sort of be like, hey, this happened, and then the more that I went along after doing that, I was like, that's dumb. That's the dumbest thing that we could do.
And like, both of us at the time were still like, we didn't put our energy into this because it was just a throwaway little sorry video that we didn't feel really that proud of putting out. So that's why you've got this.
That's why you have...
I would take this over what we did.
I kept scanning my shelf of like, is there just something? And I kept landing on Chainsaw Man for like 2 weeks. I was like, nah. But here we are. I think I just sort of relented because it makes sense. I think, you know, it's So yeah, unfortunately, this sort of serendipitously came about for a bad reason. But you know, I'm happy we got to watch this and discuss it, and you finally got to see Denji's puke eating.
Fuck that scene. Fuck that scene so much.
I
I
use
felt a
that.
little nauseous, legit.
I use that Kobeni reaction gif so much too now.
Yeah, like, you kept using that, and I was like, I didn't even think of anything at first, but then that clip of her, of that, where that gif comes from came up, and I was like, oh, so it's this fucking show. Cool.
So yeah, things have been a little fucky this month because also the episodes don't sound the same. Again, it's the transition from Adobe to Audacity. This is also going to sound different because we're recording this on Discord and recording on OBS and stuff like that. So as we ease back into recording in person and using a new laptop that I got, things are gonna take some time to just even out to being back to normal. But hopefully next month, fingers crossed, everything sounds as it usually does.
So just bear with us until then, please.
Yeah. This is the last this will be the last episode of this month, so yeah, you can look forward to that in like about a week, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.